In the darkest nights, we find our light. Battered souls, but we won't lose sight. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, we stand tall. United forever. Strength and courage will overcome. Oh, surviving together, victorious, and never alone. Hand in hand, we'll face the unknown.
We see you, we hear you, and we believe you. Hey, everyone. How you doing tonight? It's Wednesday night. It's gorgeous weather here in Michigan. So it was a beautiful day, but I've just been going through these migraines. They just suck, I gotta tell you. But welcome to Surviving Together. That's where you've landed tonight. And we're a safe space for trauma survivors to connect and build community on their healing journey, as well as providing trauma-related education for all. And tonight we are going to be talking about feeling stuck in life. You know, that emotional and also just physical paralysis where you have no motivation, you just can't get things done. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Topic near and dear to my heart, because this is something that I suffer from a lot. So let's just welcome. So far we have Carmel is here, as well as Crystal. Carmel, thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and hope you're doing well tonight. I know it's evening over where you are. Crystal, I hope you have had a really good day today. Let's wish Crystal a happy birthday today. It is her birthday, so we are also celebrating her birthday today. And LV has joined us. Hey, LV, I hope you're doing well. I hope you are doing well. You've only got a few more months, and you've got some retirement coming up, a little birdie told me. And Kid Rock is here. Hi, Kid Rock. How you doing? Nice to see you. We are also, it's June. It's nice weather. It's summer. This is for not only the guys, but I think the guys definitely need the reminder. Listen, if you're going to wear sandals out, could you please trim your toenails before you go? It's all I'm asking. All right. Feet in general, people don't, are kind of like, some people really like them. Some people are like, whatever. I mean, toes can look kind of weird, right? But at least just trim your toenails. Just please, everybody. I don't understand, long fingernails, for women, I get. I mean, I guess men, if you want to do long fingernails too, that's your choice. I don't get the long toenails though. The painted long toenails, like when they're long, like your fingernails are. Personally, just not a look that I'm into. I don't know. Is it just me? Anybody else feel this way? So women or men, I am just encouraging you to please trim it up, okay? That's all I got to say about that. Excuse me, being outside. Definitely need to keep on the lip balm. Hey, Mayo, how you doing? So glad you're here. And William from Brooklyn is here. William at Brooklyn, actually. Thank you for joining us tonight. So glad you're here. I'm going to put up probably a little later after we chat. I have launched my GoFundMe. Some of you have gotten emails in direct regards to that. If I've had your emails, I haven't gotten through everybody that I have. But if you do receive an email, it's it's not only just letting you know that my GoFundMe is live for my book launch, because I'm trying to get to Vancouver, Canada. And I don't know anybody there, so I'm going to have to stay in the hotel, which is ungodly expensive, as is the airfare and passport fees and just, all of it. So the GoFundMe is live. Thank you to Indigo and Tommy Stiggs, who have already donated. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Actually, Tommy's going to be live a little later on tonight with Fern Ronay. She is starting a channel. She does spirituality type things, numerology, maybe some cooking. She's kind of figuring out what she wants to do with her channel, but she's a great person to talk to. I just received another email from her today, and we're going to try and get her on. She's really big into soma exercises and other, they are trauma related ways of just coping mechanisms. So we're going to talk and try and figure something out and have her on. And I think you guys will really, really enjoy her, and her channel is just getting started. So as soon as that she's kind of solid on her own with her channel, I will be posting her channel up for you guys too. Crystal, I'm sorry. It's been a rough day. It's your birthday. You're supposed to be having a great one. Hopefully you treated yourself to a nice dinner, or going to, because I know you're a few hours behind me. So hopefully you're treating yourself a little bit and engaging in a lot of self-care, because that can be needed in general for all of us, but also for us when when we're having that tough time. We got to practice self-compassion and self-care. Did I miss anybody? Nope, not yet. Okay. So anyway, back to the email. So if you get my emails, yes, it's about donating, but it's almost more importantly, is about sharing it out. If you guys can share it out on any of your socials, whether that's Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or through emails, I mean, whatever means you have, the only hope that I have for getting to Vancouver for the book launch in November is, getting mass exposure, as many people as possible that can find out about it, and if 500 people, if I can reach 500 people through you guys, right, then, even if people donate $5, that's, that's $2,500 or whatever. So it at least gets me partway to my goal. And I'm working right now, and I'm going to hopefully be able to stay steady with working and be able to contribute myself to the cause. But for right now, I can't. So this is where we are. So I really, really want to get to the book launch. It's not only important to me from a pride standpoint. It's my first book, my first part of a book, but it's an opportunity to speak on the authors panel in front of the Women Changing the World America's Summit. So it is a chance to speak to a whole room of people who are interested in what we have to say. And I'm really hoping to use that as a springboard to be able to do other speaking engagements and hopefully ones that pay me. I mean, we've gotten invited to different conferences, but it's like, it's $2,000 to get in to be a keynote speaker or something like that. And then you've got to get there and pay the hotel and all that. And it's like, no, sorry guys, don't have it. You want to pay me and fly me there? I'd be happy to come, but I can't do it the other way around. No. Crystal says, I went out for lunch. And we'll dive into my ice cream cake a bit later. Oh, yay. That's awesome. I'm glad that you treated yourself a little bit. So I am actually going to put the GoFundMe later, because that's enormous. I don't know why it's so large, and I don't like it in front of my face like that. So you can't find it on the community post. I did do an entire community post about it. and you can find the link there. So just have to go to the community post on the channel's main page, and it will be the top post there. Yes, I did see that Kid Rock. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys passed away. Sad day. I mean, I do love the Beach Boys. My parents love them, so we listened to them a lot growing up. And Brian Wilson really was an amazing musician. He definitely had his troubles, but he was very instrumental in that band taking off, right? So RIP to Brian Wilson. Hi, Bella. Bella's Whisper Farmstead, but her name is Kristen. So let me say, Kristen, how are you tonight? Glad that you have joined us as well. So for anybody who came in late, we're celebrating Crystal's birthday. Also, Misha, Awakened by the Looking Glass. Her birthday was a few days ago, so I want to do a shout out to Misha as well. And I wished her a happy birthday earlier, but I wanted to include her today as long as we were doing some birthday celebrations. Hey, Magooch, what's up? How you doing? I just got invited to a conference in Miami, but it was $1,000 to be a keynote speaker. They wanted me to pay them. I'm like, no. I thought about you, though. I thought about you. I was like, oh, Miami. And then I found out they weren't paying me. I had to pay them. No, we're not doing that. So, but let's talk about the topic today, because this is definitely a personal one for me. Trauma and feeling stuck. By feeling stuck, I mean where you just can't seem to get anything done. You're procrastinating on things. We are just emotionally and physically paralyzed, and you may just wander around doing things that aren't the top of your priority list. You may just sit and watch TV, or in my case, I read. Just doing things other than the things that you know that you should be doing or that are on your list to do. Or it can also be just not having motivation to do anything. Maybe you don't really have anything that needs to be done, or goals or things like that. Maybe you're getting your basics done, but you're not really moving forward in life. You're not living life. It's existing, right? I was there for a long time after I had my mental break, piecing myself together and just really existing in life and not living my life. And why does this happen? It's very common in trauma survivors. It can happen when we're feeling very overwhelmed about things. If there's a lot of different priorities or pressures coming down upon us, or we're just emotionally overwhelmed if we have a very difficult situation that we're dealing with. I have a particular friendship that is difficult right now, and I'm really having a hard time deciding what to do with that and navigating that. And some other pressures in my life have just really gotten me stuck in my reading chair. Really, that's what I call it. I'm stuck in my reading chair, whether I'm actually on the couch or on the porch or wherever I am. And it's awful. I mean, when we feel that way, not only are we struggling emotionally because we want to be able to do those things that need to get done, but then we start that negative self-talk because we're not getting it done, right? We're just, oh God, I'm just lazy. Why can't I just get up and do this? I'm just procrastinating, I should be doing this. Everybody else is doing this. Everyone else can get things done. And why can't I ever seem to get the things done that need to be done? And that type of talk it eats away at you, and it perpetuates itself, because the worse you feel about yourself, the more that negative self-talk takes over, and then the worse you feel about yourself. And it's really hard to get out of that cycle sometimes. And I know that particularly like the last couple of weeks, not only because of the pressures that I've had, but um, I have migraines really bad, generally about twice a year. And I get them occasionally throughout the year, but there's generally a month in the spring and a month in the fall that I get them really frequently. And it's because of the weather, mainly the weather patterns. And usually it's earlier in the year, and I thought I had, like, managed to skip by. I thought, "Woohoo," but the end of May came, kind of since Memorial Day, on, I've had headaches either every other day or every day. I woke up this morning right now. I can feel the pressure right here now. Um, it's, uh it's still there. It's better than it was, much better than it was. This morning I woke up at like 3:30 and I knew I was going to have one. So um, I took preventative measures, but the medication makes me really tired, and being tired and fatigued, of course, that just feeds into not wanting to do stuff. So already feeling that way, and then having days where I can't work because of my migraines, it's been hard. It's been really hard. Financially, I was off for a couple weeks, and then I got a job, and then I've had migraines. And so I've only been able to work about half the days that have been available to me, which really, really sucks. Because not only do I feel then awful for not working, not making the money, right? And then on the days that I feel well, trying to cram as much work in as possible, which leaves no time for those other things that I need to get done. I don't get them done on my migraine days because I'm either overtaken by pain, or ugh, I'm just so fatigued and overwhelmed about what's going on that I just can't do much. I just mentally don't even have it. And then there's the aspect of feeling awful in regards to my job, that I'm letting them down. I'm, showing that I'm not reliable and I'm not being productive. And that just, you know, that eats away at me as well, because being respected in my profession is very important. Doing well on different assignments is important, because it's up to these people to put me on another assignment, because I work project to project. So I've been dealing with all of that. And so on my bad days, I've really been having a hard time getting going again, right? And sometimes I just want to say, Kid Rock says, when people become overwhelmed, they should take a few steps back so they can clear their head. Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk about is self-compassion. It can happen, and the more we beat ourselves up about it, the worse the situation's going to be. It doesn't help at all, and it can be difficult to cut our negative self-talk off, right? And I think that, not only being overwhelmed, but if you don't have any defined goals in life, it can be a lot more difficult to get out of that stuck feeling, because you don't feel like you really have anything that you're working towards, whether that's your life purpose or whether it's just your goal to lose a little weight or get your kitchen cleaned or whatever. But having defined goals can really help pull us out of that. But sometimes it's not enough. I have a lot of defined goals. I know what my stuff is. I know what I need to get done. I have a list. I'm a list maker. Love my lists. I have lists for my lists. And I end up with a list coming over here, and then I end up making another one here, and then I have to consolidate them. And so sometimes even having to find goals, it's not enough to break that cycle. So how do we get out of this? How do we get motivated again? How do we zap ourselves back into action? Hi, Osada. I'm glad you're here tonight. Hope you had a great day making yummies. You guys haven't seen Osada Treats channel. He has some awesome creations. He makes chocolates and candies and different types of things, and it's all yummy stuff. And he delivers. By deliver, I mean ships it, because he's in Washington, I think, or Oregon. I think Washington. You have to correct me if I'm wrong on that. So really the first thing that you can do when you're feeling this way, when you recognize what's going on, that you're not doing anything and that you're stuck. Not talking about your relaxing time, because everybody deserves to take a break, right? And everybody deserves to have their relaxation time. But if you really feel like that time that you're taking to yourself is overtaking everything else, that you're not getting your other things done, sit back and reflect. Whether this is verbally or whether it's pen and paper, I encourage either speaking out loud, whether it's just to the air or whether it's to a wall, or writing, because I think there is power in putting words to your thoughts. I think sometimes, at least for me, I can think about things and one thought leads to another, it may lead to another, leads to another over here. But when I speak it out loud or when I write it, it's like it's more concrete. We say words have power. And when you make those words real, I think, at least for me, it is a lot easier to define what's going on, because I have to put words to those thoughts. I have to really make that thought concrete. So the first thing I did is I sat down and I looked at recent events. What has gone on in your life recently that could have possibly triggered this episode? Because I look at it as an episode. For me, that helps limit the negative self-talk. It is something that I know I'm susceptible to. Some of us are susceptible to just isolating ourselves, whether that's physically or emotionally from people, not speaking to friends. You may have other coping mechanisms that you tend to lapse into when you're feeling overwhelmed or when you're really stressed out. And it's the negative ones that I'm talking about. So I sat down with pen and paper. That was the first time I put pen to paper for a while, except for the book. And I had to look at what has been going on for me lately. And I had to look at the relationships that are around me. And that's all types of relationships, families, friends, romantic, whatever you've got. And I really looked at every one of them and said, okay, is there anything going on with this that is bothering me? And so first I just kind of made a list, looking at my mom and my dad, my feelings of inadequacy there, that I should be, they're getting older, I should be helping them more, but I struggle myself a lot. So, time-wise, then it's difficult, and then I feel bad that I'm not doing things that I should be doing, or I think I should be doing, to help out. I had to look at, my son and my friends and, just all of these relationships, and look at the things that were triggering for me. What was causing my stress? And this may be obvious to you, but for me, in this last time period that I've had this, it's kind of been like an every other day thing. I haven't had it for like, days and days and days. I'll feel good one day and then I'm like kind of down the next. And so, um, talk to my doctor about that too. It could be a hormone issue and things of that nature. So sometimes it's because things are out of your control, and whether that's relationship wise or like I said, it could be hormone. Maybe you need an antidepressant or you're not on antidepressants or you need to change your medication. I'm actually trying to get off my antidepressants and we're going to see how that goes. um, I had to look at these relationships, and when I did, I realized I had a lot of why questions, which is good because when you ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is bothering me about this situation? You may come up with an answer that you may need to ask yourself another why question to really get to the root of what your issue is. If you ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? And you say, well, it's because I'm overwhelmed. Okay, well, why are you overwhelmed? Or why are you stressed? If your answer is because I'm scared or, I fear something, you need to ask yourself why. What's the cause of that? So sometimes we need to dig to really get to that root, because you can say, well, it's because I'm scared. Okay, well, there's not much you can do with that, right? You can't just tell yourself, well, just don't be scared. Oh, that works, right? That works so well. I fear failing at something. Okay, why? Why do you have a fear of failing? Is it because of inadequacy? Because you think you're not good enough? Is that because you really feel that or somebody else has told you that? So I sat down with my journal and I looked at my feelings of inadequacy and my frustrations and why I just was stagnant, right? And I asked myself all those why questions because that's part of exploring your thoughts and your feelings. So I looked at my relationships, I looked at what might have been triggering that, and then I sat with my thoughts. I sat with my feelings, and I allowed myself to feel all the feelings, right? Feelings aren't good or bad, they just are. It's how we deal with them, it's what we do with them. So if we give them space, and then if they're not helpful, let them just kind of pass through or flick them off, whatever mental trick you can use to try and move it along, we can get to the core of what's going on. And so I did that. And then I also had to look at my negative thoughts, right? Those limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves. And where is this coming from? Is it coming from me? Is it coming from somebody else? Are these situations in my control? Can I do anything about it? And that's a big one for me because there are definitely times where I have to look at a situation and go, you know what? There's nothing I can do about this. The ball's in somebody else's court, or this is somebody else's problem. It's not mine. So I can take that off my plate. It doesn't mean that you're going to completely ignore it. It doesn't mean that you don't feel bad about the situation. but we don't have to take it on ourselves because we can't do anything about it. I don't know if you can hear the motorcycle out, but it's definitely spring in Michigan or beginning of summer, right? Almost beginning of summer in Michigan. Kid Rock says music is the key for me when I'm not good. I also write skits, but they're kind of hard rated text. Hey, whatever works for you. It's your private stuff, right? It doesn't matter. If it helps, it helps. As long as it's not hurting somebody else. That's at least how I feel about it. So looking at our negative thoughts, looking at anything that we're thinking that is preventing us from really moving forward, from doing the things that we want to be able to do or that we need to do. I mean, when I was at my worst, there were times where, I had never paid a bill late. Never. Before my mental break, never paid a bill late. I was lucky that I got my bills paid each month. It wasn't that I couldn't afford it, after my mental break. It was just being able to do the task, just physically getting up, even though it would take 5 minutes. And thank God for auto pay. That really, truly saved my butt because it was too much. It was too much to even do the basics in life at the beginning. I really, really struggled. So sometimes there can be, options such as that can make what you need to do a little bit easier. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. In addition, when we're sitting down thinking, we also need to be aware of take a body scan and take an emotional scan. The body is, how am I feeling? Am I anxious? Am I depressed? And because there are times where I'm like, why am I like this? What is going on? Nothing changed from day to day. And I just, mid-morning, I end up and I'm just like, basically, right? And I have to look at what is going on here. And sometimes the answer isn't easy to find. So looking at how we're feeling and then also looking at our behavior patterns, I will find sometimes that after a really productive day, the next day I struggle, which sounds silly, right? It's like you had a productive day. Woohoo! You should be able to hit the ground running that next day. There's this piece of me that's still healing. That's like, you did enough. You got the basics done. You don't need to do anymore. In a way, that's really negative self-talk because I want to do so much more. I don't want to just do the basics anymore. I have the book that I'm writing. I have friendships. I have people that I'm talking to. I have my parents that I want to be able to help. I have this channel and the research that goes into it. I have books that I want to read, like, trauma educational books type of thing. Because when I say I sit and read, it's nothing productive. If I could read Bessel van der Kolk's, Body Keeps the Score, Um, when I have my off days, I would still consider a productive day because I'm doing something trauma related. But no, it's nothing like that. It's silly stories or romance stories or, murder mysteries. It's, yeah, nothing that's really going to help me. So, looking at, I spoke about this. I really spoke about this already, but looking at external factors, our relationship, our work, looking at your health, did anything change from day to day? Well, migraine. And so I know that that's a real trigger. And I need to start accepting that on my migraine days, I'm not going to get much done because I end up beating myself up about it and get into a lot of negative self-talk, and that kind of carries over into the next day, and that does not set me up for success. So what I've learned, what I have to keep reminding myself of though, is those are the days where I need self-care. Those are the days that I need to practice self-compassion, giving myself grace the most. I can't control the weather. I can't control how my head reacts to the weather. I can try and get ahead of it as much as possible, but sometimes it just is what it is. It happens, and I cannot control that. So allowing myself that space, it makes me feel so much better. I've tried to do that today. There was that piece of me. It's like, you got to work. As soon as you feel good enough, you got to work. And it was like, okay, noon. It's like, do I feel good enough? And I'm like, I'm still really tired from my medication. And like a couple hours later after a nap, I'm like, okay, should we get some work done? And it's like, and I finally had to just put my foot down with myself and say, listen, you're not going to get anything productive done today. At least not with work, where I really have to concentrate and put a lot of thought into it. And that hurts my brain. And I have to spend screen time, which does not do well after migraines. I sent a few emails out today, but that was 5 minutes in front of the computer. So allowing yourself to have that space, if you have a particular event like that, can then really set you up for a reset the next day. And you say, listen, tomorrow is a new day. This migraine will be over and I'll be able to get something done. It's difficult for me is when I have multiple migraine days, back to back. Because I feel like, I'm losing time and then I'm losing work, and practicing self-compassion then is really difficult. Telling myself that it's okay that I'm not going to get anything done today is hard. Fighting that negative self-talk on those days, because I feel like I should. I need to work. But the more I push myself with it, the worse my migraine gets because I'm stressing myself out. So I have to be okay with it. It sucks. It is what it is. But I do myself no favors by stressing about it. Kid Rock and migraines don't mix well. Yeah, they absolutely bite the big one, don't they? Hi, Joetown. How you doing? Glad you're here tonight. Crystal, I understand this. She says, I wish I had even had the energy to care to do any of this. Believe me, I have been there. When I was putting myself back together from the mental break, I couldn't do any of these. Like I said, I was lucky if I got the basics accomplished. And sometimes that's all you can do. So what I say in that situation is celebrate all those little things. Celebrate the fact you fed yourself today. Because some people can't even accomplish that. They lose their appetite, they lose their will to even, make anything or go anywhere or do anything. So if you took a shower, congratulate yourself. If you went to work, congratulate yourself. It's these little things that the more little wins that we can find, the better we're going to feel. And I found myself eventually being able to do more and more. But it wasn't until, literally, like maybe I got 3 dishes done in a pile. And I said, congratulations, you did it. You did it. I high-fived myself because I thought asking my son was a bit much. It had to be a big win for me because otherwise I didn't do it. I did it. I did something. And the next day I did a few more. And eventually the sink was clean. And then I discovered that I was able to do part of the dishes, not just a few. And now it's rare that my sink fills up with dishes. It's something I can stay on top of. And for some people, they may be shaking their heads going, "You doing your dishes and you're congratulating yourself?" Yep. When I have a clean kitchen and stuff is put away and there aren't dishes stacked in the sink, I feel on top of the world because I struggled with it for a long time when I was going through my mental break, just getting, like you said, just getting the basics done. So I understand, Crystal, where you are, and you may not feel the energy to set those larger goals, but just taking care of yourself and just doing those basic minimums. Congratulate yourself. Feel positive energy about it. I'm not sure if you listen to affirmations at all. I have found that listening to those helps. I don't always take them to heart, but I definitely have found that helps. I have a 10-minute get focused meditation that I do in the morning, and I don't always remember to do it because sometimes I'll get going with some things, but it really allows me to set the determination that I can do this today. And again, that's on good days. On bad days, on migraine days, it's not going to happen. If I'm just feeling a little bit down, if I'm just starting to feel the paralysis kind of creeping, if I sit down with it, it can help. Or if I sit down with some affirmations, those can help. It doesn't change anything overnight, but we have to celebrate those baby steps. like I said, it took 10 years for me to put myself back together after I had my mental break. It was just too much, losing my house and losing my job, losing my husband, moving to another city, moving in with my parents. It it was all I could do to function. And it wasn't until I started saying to myself that I'm going to celebrate the things I can do. I'm going to celebrate the things that I do do, that things started to turn around for me. Because by celebrating them, you get that positive feedback for yourself. You're like, yeah, I did this. If you have someone who can support you, who understands, and you could say, hey, I showered today. And they could say, awesome, good job, congratulations, and give you that positive feedback as well. There's another thread that you can use that can help boost you beyond your own self-talk. So I really encourage you to, like I said, Crystal, I'm reading what you're typing in terms of what's going on in your situation right now. And I have been there. 100%. I have been there. Literally, showers were an effort. I'd have to take a nap after showers. I was so fatigued. I didn't have the mental capacity to do hardly anything. The more we look at the stuff around us and think, this is too much, this is overwhelming, I can't do it. Literally, there was a day I did one dish. I did one dish. And I congratulated myself. And that was the beginning for me. And, I can't say that it's going to turn things around for you or that, what your timeline might be, but it can certainly help. And anything that you do, anything that you do accomplish, congratulate yourself in some way. For some people, that's writing it down on a list and then crossing it off and going, I did it. Woo. Give yourself a gold star. Whatever it is, but celebrate it in some form or fashion. Give yourself some positive feedback. And I think that's why the affirmations do help, or there are some meditations that are just about positivity. So external validation, that you've done something, right, that can really help as well. So 100% get where you're going. Sada says, if you take the R out of migraine and turn the R into the rest, it goes from migraine to my gain. When the pain goes away, then I can do that. Joe Tanya says, am I familiar with Jessica Willis Fisher? It's not ringing a bell. Is she an author or a speaker? I can see where that would be difficult, Crystal. Showering is a particular issue. And there were days I did sponge baths, basically. I barely even took off my clothes. but I do a washcloth, right? In some important areas. And for me, then that was a win. Take what you can get, take where you are right now. Can move forward. You can, but it'll take time. Kidrock says laughter helps a lot. Yeah, I forget about that, which is strange because I love comedy and I really enjoy, watching like stand-ups on YouTube or whatever, but I didn't grow up with a lot of laughter. And so it's not one of my go-tos in terms of just, an automatic thinking about it. But I should put that on a list. I have a list of coping skills of things that I can do because it sometimes when I'm feeling really stuck, it's like my brain doesn't even want to work. So having a list that I've already done on my good days. So we've talked about this before, your coping skills, you have to do them on your good days too. You have to practice them whenever you can, because then we'll be able to use them more effectively on the days that we're not feeling so great. Joe Chan says that Jessica Willis Fisher is a musician and an author of a book called Unspeakable. I don't know what that book is about, but that name sounds really familiar. Really, really familiar. Hang on one second. This is bringing up Unspeakable Things. Jessica Laurie. I don't think that that's the book that you're talking about. I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up. I can't, but it does sound very familiar. Hang on one second, guys. My attention is needed elsewhere for just a minute. Sorry about that, guys. My son is headed out tomorrow for a vacation with a bunch of friends, and he was looking for something, couldn't find it. Hi, Kim. How you doing tonight? Thanks for dropping by. It's a story about her abuse and her 12 siblings. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know she wrote a book, but she was did she do music with all of her siblings, or like most of them? They were all they did kind of country music, because I think I saw a documentary about her. I didn't know she wrote a book. Okay, I know who you're talking about then. Yes, he was a POS, wasn't he? Yeah, and they were being abused. He was a narcissist, and there was lots of physical abuse, and I think it turns out the Willis clan. Yes, okay, yep, that's what they're known as. Yeah, Yeah, and mom was no better from what I can't remember if she was just a sideline or what her deal was. If she was just sucked into it, but I thought she was physically abusive as well. But I think that was more because of him. I think he kind of made her. Not 100% sure, but yeah. Whew, horrible. He's serving 40 years. That's right. Yes, he was. Once it came to light, he was convicted for all of it, which is good. Which is good. Mother was a victim. Okay, so anything that she did was because of him. Yeah, he controlled her. I think they got married pretty young. I think she was like under 20 when they got married. Um, so when you're that young, your brain is still so malleable. You don't know yourself. That's, yeah. I'll have to read the book. I'll be interested to read her book, but I have seen a documentary about it. Let's see. I just wanted to see if there's anything I missed because I was kind of talking a little bit all over the place. Yeah, seeking support. We talked about that. And, it may help on those days that you're having to be able to reach out and talk to somebody. Um, I have discovered that on my bad days, when I'm feeling stuck and just totally paralyzed from doing anything, that I I need to look inward. I need quiet time. I need alone time. And maybe once I've had that, if there's a root cause of something that I've been able to identify, that sometimes I may reach out, I may need support for that. But usually on that particular day, I'm a little more isolated. But just having support out there, for your good days, or if you're having a lot of negative self talk, sometimes speaking to somebody else can help break that cycle because they can remind you of all the good things that you are, remind you of your accomplishments. And that can help just, s- stop that negative train going through. Excuse me. Um, Last thing, and then I kind of briefly touched on this, is reviewing our goals and our values. Um, it's something in general, whether we're feeling good or bad, that we should be doing just to make sure that we're aligning with what we want to do, um, what we think we should do. Is this sometimes we put unnecessary pressure on ourselves because you think, I should be doing this, and I should be doing this, and I should be doing this. And, maybe that's true, but you may not be there yet. I mean, that was definitely true for me as I was putting myself back together there. I couldn't handle, sorry. It's also pollen season right now, and the cottonwoods are blowing, which I'm really allergic to. And I don't know if you can see, my eyes are a little red and I get an itchy nose. My nose just itches. So I'm sorry. I would be on and off and on and off the camera. If every time I had to itch my nose. So I apologize, guys. Another month. Just bear with me through June. But looking at our goals and deciding, is this something that I can accomplish? Is this something that is reasonable? Am I putting too much pressure on myself? Do I have goals that I'm no longer interested in? I mean, sometimes we set goals for ourselves because we think we should be doing something. And I'm not talking about those necessary things that, we kind of need to do to take care of ourselves, getting some form of income, taking care of ourselves, physically. um, the bare bones of whatever your responsibilities are, but things outside of that. And we can put a lot of unnecessary pressure on top of ourselves for things that we feel that we should be doing. And we really need to look at that and say, listen, is this a value of mine? Is this something that I want? Is this a necessity? Is it something I need to do, whether I want to or not? Or is this something that other people do? And so I think I should be doing it too. Because there are times where those things aren't going to align. And you can only through self-reflection figure that out. So looking at our goals and our values and where we are in life and what's important to us and what our needs are then um, can help with this feeling stuck, because maybe you're trying to work towards something that you're no longer aligned with. Maybe you've had a goal of going out and doing things, X, Y, or Z with this particular friend, but maybe you've realized that that friend's pretty toxic and isn't necessarily a good influence in your life. Or maybe you're feeling the pressure to do that from that relationship, from that other person or persons. And so looking at those things and deciding for ourselves, what do I want? What do I need? What do I value? That can be helpful in kind of dragging us out of this emotional paralysis. Just making sure that we're trying to work towards things that are healthy, that are reasonable goals. Because if we set our goals too big, we can just feel overwhelmed again. And for some people, setting big goals and having those things is totally fine. They're in a different place emotionally. One thing that I have learned, and it's tough for me to remember sometimes, we're all different places emotionally. And wherever you are, it's okay. It's where you are. You can heal. You can get better. But you are where you are. Mhm. You are where you are. Why did I say double R's? And that's okay. Because when we say it's not okay, that's just part of our negative self-talk, and that's just part of beating ourselves up, and it's us nowhere. It's not helpful at all. So that's one of the positive, I have a set of positive affirmations that I do say to myself, and it's really, it includes everything that I say at the end here. I am worthy. I am valuable. I am enough. I am loved. If by no one else, by myself. That's been a big journey for me this year. A big part of my healing journey is truly learning self-love and what that means. I think we might do an episode on that on Saturday about how to love ourselves, how to be okay with ourselves. Um, 'Cause it's a very personal struggle. Um, so I've done a lot of self-reflection this year and a lot of having to remind myself that I am enough. If somebody doesn't like that, if somebody doesn't see value in me, that's them. It it doesn't have to mean that I'm not worthy in some way. Not everybody gets along, not everybody can see the good in certain people. There are people who are friends who I'm like, it'd be a hot day in hell before, I'd be friends with that person because their values just don't align with mine. What they see as important is not important in my life. I used to think I wanted that big house and that nice car and, that luxury lifestyle. And would it be nice to have enough money just to go travel whenever I wanted to? Sure, it would. But that's the thing. It'd just be nice. It doesn't define me. So I'm happy with my little home. I'm happy with what I have. I don't need a new this or a new that unless something breaks. Kind of need a new air conditioner, but they're freaking expensive. Damn, I didn't realize how much they've gone up in cost. Wow. So yeah, I told my son, better buy a few more fans because I don't think it's going to happen this year. It's true. It is true. Um, Kim says being single and the only one paying bills, it's a pressure, but very much so, especially when you're really not up for doing work. Yeah, and I feel that. I mean, I'm fortunate that my son is working now, so he can help to a degree. Um, he's learning to be an adult and have his own bills to pay. He's got his car and his car insurance, and so he's, kind of, he's getting there. And I still want to help him as much as I can, right? I don't want him to have to take over my bills. So yeah, it is hard on those days when I can't work. But especially when it's for migraine reasons, um, I have to practice self-compassion. And that's the last thing on our list. And I've been talking about it throughout. We have to give ourselves grace to not be okay. Because I think when we don't, all we're doing is setting ourselves up for failure because we're feeling more like a failure. So when we can practice grace, when we can say it's okay not to be okay for right now, and think about what can I do tomorrow to reset? What can I do tomorrow to take a step forward? Even if that's that baby step. There were days I didn't get in the shower and I was using baby wipes. I was just making sure that I wasn't smelling and I maybe get off, a top layer of grime. And it was only when I was celebrating even that win that I was able to move forward from that place. So it's really difficult. I need to remember on those days where I try to do stuff, I push myself, I'm going to end up with another migraine from stress. Because I'm right on that edge. And so it can turn from the weather headache into a stress migraine if I'm putting too much on me. If I'm having one of those days where I'm just not motivated and I'm feeling stuck and it's not a migraine day, What I'm trying first is my motivational video, my focus, my determination video. And if that doesn't help, then I try a change of scenery. And I'm not successful all the time at this, guys. That's why I say I'm on this healing journey with you. And there are days I don't even remember to do it. And that's why I have to have my lists of positive coping skills, because sometimes my brain can't even think about what I should do next, what I can do to help myself. It is just like vapid, nothing there. I can't think beyond the next story, beyond getting done with this book and finding another book. I can't even get out of that mode. And that's when I have to have my list out. I have it on my desk because this is where I end up most of the time. So I have it on my desk so that I can actually look at that. Kid says, when I was younger, I wanted a big house and cars. But if someone has problems, changing where you live won't help, because in the long run, you still have your problems. Yeah, there's that old saying, money doesn't buy happiness. And it's true. It 100% is true. Can it make our lives easier? Absolutely. 100%. And that can reduce, not having a financial stress, that can reduce a lot of issues for us. But at the root of it, is that going to mean you're going to be happy? Some of the poorest people I have ever met have been the happiest and the first to try and offer help. Why? Because they know what it's like to be without. And they find joy where they can. They find joy in their relationships. So yeah, money, it doesn't buy happiness. And it's, for me, I grew up in the 80s. It was a time of big wealth growth. We had Silicon Valley was booming. The tech industry was, going wild. And it's often called the consumption era, because consumer goods were, at an all-time high, buying them. And you just have this thought that, I was going to grow up and I was going to have a job where I was going to be in a suit and having power lunches. That was the phrase, right? Power lunches. It's just another phrase for working lunch. You're working through your lunch hour. You may be getting some food, but you're still working. But it was a nice phrase. And the power suit, right? And I thought this is what I wanted, until I became more of myself. And that was difficult when I got my law degree. A lot of expectations to go into private practice, whether it was for myself or with a firm, chasing that dollar. And for me personally, I decided it wasn't in me. I couldn't do that. So I ended up as a researcher. And that's why I've been happy. I love the law. I do love the law. And I'm happy as a researcher. I'm happy when I'm an employed researcher. I'm happy when I'm not working project to project, but I'm happy in this role. I don't like sales. That's what private practice feels like to me. And that's just me. That's my personality. Chochan says, wherever you go, there you are. Yep. Isn't that Dr. Seuss, I think? For as odd as the man ended up being, and is not a really nice guy, he put out some wonderful children's books. I often wondered if he was like on acid when he wrote some of them and illustrated them, right? Because where in the world do your brain come up with this stuff? Kid says, remember what I said to you before. You can't outrun your brain. That is true. That is true. And just ignoring what's going on and it doesn't help either, right? You can't. We have to face our demons, and it's difficult. And those demons can be small. It doesn't have to be. We're talking about our big trauma demons, right? This can be just our everyday battles, whether you're healing from trauma or not. And we all have those moments of indecision or not feeling like we know what to do. Thanks, Rick. Rick's here to save everybody from the money sadness. His bank account number is on request. Well, Rick, I think I sent you an email about my GoFundMe, so you can head over there then if you're willing to be helpful like that. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Hey, Janet. Oh, so glad you popped by to say hello. Thank you so much. Um, and somebody said something that I had wanted to bring up. Hang on, I'm going back, guys. I'm going back. Oh, this because I have friends who have stepped back from YouTube. I stepped back from YouTube, except for my channel, in large part for several weeks. I'm a little back into it now. Still not where I was with it, and I don't think I will be. I've had to figure out, timing as well. It's hard networking on YouTube, but also having a regular life and things outside of YouTube that you need to get done. But it's just like, I had to eventually in 2000, I think it was 2011. Yeah, when I had my mental break, I decided that I was going to be off Facebook because honestly, that was feeding into a lot of my insecurities as well. Everyone putting their best foot forward. No, look at my wonderful family and look at this vacation that I just had and look at this lunch that I just made and or whatever it was. Nobody was putting out there the struggles that they were having or the, emotional turmoil that was going on. And it just made everybody feel like shit, excuse my language, right? I mean, seriously. We just I think it did a lot of people a disservice. And I think it really helped foster that kind of fakeness um in terms of friendships. And some people found genuine friendships and made connections on it, and it's a way to keep in touch with your family, and that's perfectly great. But I know at least in the 2000s, it got pretty toxic. So, and I'm not allowed back on there anyway. They doesn't matter what I do, they think I'm not a real person. So, oh well. You get some more painting done, Janet? I'm glad. Hi, Todd. How are you doing? GP Matrix Rabbit. That's nice. I like your logo. Yeah, Janet took a major break from uh from from YouTube, and it all depends on where you're at. You know, Sometimes it's a necessary break if you find yourself just doing the mindless scroll and we feel like it's a time waster. There's things that we can, other things that we can be doing. And, it's kind of like if you find yourself sitting down and watching TV and all of a sudden it's, 4 hours later and it's time for bed and you're like, shit, I didn't get anything done tonight. And so I would have to bypass the TV. This is when I still had a TV. I don't have one. now, but I just have to bypass the TV because if I sat down in front of it, I knew that was it. I was done for the evening. Wasn't going to move. So, um, learning ourselves, you know, looking at our habits, looking at our behavior patterns can be very, very helpful in trying to figure out what we need. And truly, what do you need? Not just what somebody else thinks you need, not what somebody else says you should want. What do you need? What are your values? What is important to you? At the core of it all, that's what matters. That's what's important. Not all that extraneous stuff. Still getting grafts. Told to stay off your foot as much as you can. Best of luck to you, Todd. Hugs and love. Lots of hugs and loves going out to you. 80s, big hair, right? Yeah, definitely. Definitely was. I rocked that big hair thing. See, my hair, it just it was meant for big hair. It rats like there's like nobody's tomorrow. It's pretty darn good. But Todd, please take care of yourself, all right? Take care of yourself and doctor's orders, stay off it as much as you can. And we'll look forward to when you're back and can be making some more resin because Todd makes some amazing resins. He made this chessboard. Oh, it was so beautiful. One of the recovery gurus said that a while back about taking a break from YouTube. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Kid Rock took an 8-month break from YouTube and it felt great. Yeah. I needed those few weeks and I still need my time now. I'm still not you know, back to networking like I was and I don't know that I will be. Um I think that my networking is more particular now. Um and it's not relying really so much on other creators as I was. You know, it's hard in the beginning. You got to get your name out there somehow. And if you don't have a big outside circle to be able to draw people in, you got to, you know, figure it out. And meeting other creators and being in other chats is, you know, kind of the best way that you can do that. Um, and we haven't quite gotten into the algorithm. Even some of my shorts, they get up to 1100 and then it stops. It's like YouTube just stops putting it out. And I have no idea why. But I like have 2 shorts that did really, really well in their first 2 days. It got to 1100, nothing. It is the most bizarre thing. I'm like, why did you all of a sudden decide just not to put this out? I don't understand. I truly don't understand YouTube sometimes. And I know that's something that I really need to sit down and study. If I want to be successful on YouTube, you know, in terms of hours and number of people, I've really had to decide for myself because it can, you know, when you're on this, you can get really sucked into the numbers game. And there is a part of you that has to play it and has to play with the algorithm to be able to get your stuff, you know, pushed out and pushed out to more people. But I have to keep me reminding myself whenever I get sucked into looking at those numbers too much or putting too much value on those numbers, that the only reason I'm after any of those numbers is people to be here, that we're putting ourselves, um, we're putting the channel out there and that more people are finding it and that maybe we're helping more people. That's my goal. It's not just about how many subs I get who never, come and watch. Those people don't really matter all that much. It's the people that I can reach, it's the people that I can help. Now, am I after the 4,000, the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours for monetization? Yeah. Anything that can help sub, do the, support the channel, at least pay for StreamYard, if I can get there and it can pay for StreamYard, great. So is it a goal? Yes, it's a goal. Um, am I chasing it in terms of making sure that, I'm doing everything that the algorithm says I'm supposed to be doing or whatever to get, no, I'm not. So it's just a goal that'll be out there, and we'll just keep inching our way forward. We get a subscriber or two a week, and that's just what it is. So we'll see where we are at the 2-year mark. We are getting close to 3,000 hours, though. There's the first level is 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours, and we're only 100 hours away from the 3,000 watch hours. It's a 365 rolling calendar. So we're getting close. We are getting close. So we'll see. And it's a goal just to say that we made it. Because if I make 3,000, then I can look for 4,000, and that's the ad revenue. And I can do ads. They can just be after the show, and so it won't bother the show itself. I want minimal impact on that. I don't want you guys to have ads in the middle of a show or anything like that. And for donations, like I still have my Cash App and my PayPal, and the fact that I have super stickers or memberships or whatever, yeah, YouTube takes a lot of the money, so I'd rather get it a different way. Which, sorry, YouTube, it is what it is. Thanks, Kid Rock. Yeah, I'm really trying to just to grow organically and to not get sucked into the numbers game. Yeah, I remember was 10 years ago, people really started making money on YouTube. Maybe it was longer ago than that, but I just remember being like 10 years ago and um, listening to my son's friends and stuff. And "Oh, I want to be a YouTube star and I can just play games all day and I'm going to make $1 million." And, just all that kind of stuff. And when you get into this and you realize in order to do that, like what you have to do, oh my gosh. It's definitely not a life for me. Definitely not a life for me. Santiago, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're kind of wrapping up, so you might have to catch some of this on replay, but welcome, welcome, welcome. Todd, you've been making some little stuff. That's good. Just anything that you can, but try doctor's orders come first, right? Doctor's orders come first. Kim says, good luck with the book. Well, thank you very much. I have a basic rough draft done, so I'm happy with that. I kind of think of it in 2 parts, and the second part still needs some work. But we're July 25th is when my final rough draft is due. So I have a little over a month. So I'm doing okay. Doing okay with the writing. I will put this up now for you guys. And this is the GoFundMe for the book to get me to Vancouver so that I can go to the book launch. If you can donate at all, $5, $10, whatever, it does not matter. If you can, great. If you can't, that's fine too. What I ask is if you can, if you are willing, if you could share the link out to other people. And if you're needing something to say about it, instead of just saying, hey, here's someone I know and they're looking for money, you go to my community post and you can just copy my community post. And that just sets everything up. So, you don't have to come up with anything in terms of why I'm doing this, why I'm looking at for the GoFundMe. So just looking to cover basic expenses, hotel, airfare, the rest of the book fees, and the passport. God, that's expensive. Hopefully I'll get it in a couple weeks. They said they have it and they're processing it. So I chose expedited. It's just a little bit more to get it in 2 or 3 weeks because I have to get my airplane booked because I don't want it to get too close to the time because God knows what fees are going to do. So I might have to go to Windsor and fly intra Canada instead of trying to go from Detroit to Vancouver. I might try and go Windsor to Vancouver. I've still got to look at flight prices a little more and see where they're at because I know Canada's been cutting a lot of the US flight routes. So I'm not sure what that's done to the prices lately. So we'll think. Joetown, if you could find some grants to help with what I'm doing, that would be awesome. I'm not a grant writer. I got to tell you that much. But if there's anybody who you think might be able to help, whether it's through, just email saying, hey, this person's doing this and, is doing good work and she wants to get to Vancouver so that she can talk about her chapter, talk about the book, and spread the word to even more people. That would be great because that is my goal. My whole reason for being there. It's telling my story and sharing that there is hope and light after darkness. There's light after darkness and there is hope and healing. That is my message. And it's never too late. It's never too late to heal. It's never too late to begin your journey. It's never too late to continue your journey. We're going to be on our journey for the rest of our lives. And it can only help us by focusing on healing and making ourselves into a better version, right? And healing from the past. So anything you can do to help, like I said, whether it's financial or not, just spreading the word is help that is greatly, greatly appreciated because I only know a certain number of people. So we can exponentially increase that by everybody sharing it out. All right, let me take this banner down. Krista, you're welcome. I hope you have a great rest of your birthday. And dig into that ice cream cake. In the last 2 days, I made over 2,000 people laugh. That is awesome, Rick. Congrats. Congrats. That is awesome. Admit to a crime there, they'll fly you out for free for the investigation. Thanks for the idea. We'll put it in the back pocket, Rick. Not sure that I'll be pulling that one out, but thanks. Oh, Kim, if I know any businesses that use security, I will definitely let you know. I just don't know any, frankly, at this point, just don't know any. So, all right, I think that's about it for me. We've been on for just over an hour and a half. Thanks for listening to me babble on today. It's always therapeutic for me too. You guys are a form of my therapy, and talking out what I'm saying and getting feedback from you when you add what you have to say, it either validates or sometimes makes me question, am I right in this? Because I'm not always right. My brain may not always be going to the right place. So your feedback and your interaction in the chat is really invaluable to me. So thank you all for being here and for for being willing to put yourselves out there as well. So with that, we'll end for today. Saturday's topic to be determined, but self-love's kind of thinking, percolating in my brain that maybe I'll do that. I do want to do a show on pain and depression, so that's possible for Saturday. If you guys have any thoughts for a show, you can email them to me, SurvivingTogether, sass@gmail.com, or drop it in the chat, or drop it in the comment section if you feel comfortable with other people viewing that. If you can comment after the show, that's really appreciated. The algorithm likes it. The more people that comment, the more the algorithm goes, oh, hey, people actually like this content. Maybe we should share it out. So it's very helpful. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. If you're not getting notifications, make sure your bell is checked to all. If you just subscribe, it defaults to personalized and you won't get all of the notifications. So you'll have to check that. If you're having any other issues with it, let me know. A lot of times unsubscribing and resubscribing can help as well. So, all right, guys, with that, I will see you Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, have a great rest of your week and beginning of your weekend. I hope all of you have happy, happy days. So with that, I am going to say, remember, you are worthy, you are valuable, and you are loved just the way you are for who you are. And if you don't have anybody else to say that to you, say it to yourself. It's something I have to tell myself. Hugs and love from me, guys. Mwah. Surviving together, never alone.
Through the fire, through the rain, we have walked through endless pain, but we stand, we rise again, stronger now, we break the chain, surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. Every tear, every scar tells the story of who we are. Not just survivors, but warriors too. With love as our armor, we see this through. We see you, we hear you, and we believe in you. Surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. We see you, we hear you, and we believe in you.